Oregon Governor Kate Brown, a Democrat, says it'll be a full withdrawal after federal officers clash nightly with protesters outside a courthouse. But acting Homeland Security Secretary Chad Wolf told Fox no, it won't be. They'll stay until state police now being deployed can secure the situation.
Help us police the streets and the other areas around that courthouse and to hold individuals accountable.
The number of coronavirus deaths in the U.S. now tops 150,000. One of the newest patients, Congressman Louis Gohmert, and the Republican tells Fox he'll be taking
zinc, erythromycin, and hydroxychloroquine.
Yes, that's right. He'll take hydroxychloroquine, the drug President Trump has controversially touted. Now, Gohmert's infection has led to a new mask-wearing policy at the House. NASA just launched a new mission to Mars. Fox's Evan Brown has more live.
Yeah, Dave, the 2020 Mars mission is now on its way. Lifting off moments ago from the Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, it's carrying the Mars Perseverance rover, which has technology to collect samples of the Martian soil and store it for a future spacecraft that will try to retrieve it and bring it back here. Lori Glaze is a NASA scientist.
We can only go so far with the instruments that we have on the rover. They're wonderful. It's a great suite, but nothing compared to the state-of-the-art instruments in the laboratories around the world.
Well, the craft should arrive at Mars in February, Dave.
Evan, Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg hospitalized again for a medical procedure.
Earlier this month, we learned that Justice Ginsburg's cancer returned earlier this year. She's been undergoing chemo since May. The justice says the treatment's been going well. It will continue, and she says it has not kept her away at all from work.
Fox's Shannon Bream. America's listening to Fox News.
Do you know you might be overpaying for your Medicare supplement plan? Do you get lost in an alphabet maze of plans like A, B, C, D, and G, F? Would you like help getting out of the maze and finding the very best plan for you? We are experienced Medigap agents at Health IQ, and we are on a mission to give people like you fair and square Medigap rates. Health IQ is the only insurance agency that rewards seniors proactively working on their health, like eating right and exercising. You don't have to be an athlete to save money. We reward healthy lifestyles of all kinds. Do you take your vitamins and supplements? Do you stay active and in the know about things that impact your health? If so, you could save money with Health IQ. Let us help you take care of your Medicare supplement needs. To see if you qualify for exclusive savings on Medicare supplement insurance, go to healthiq.com/Medigap. To start saving, go to healthiq.com/Medigap. That's HEALTHIQ.com/MEDIGAP.
Health IQ is an agency offering plans from different insurance carriers. No government or Medicare affiliation. Coverage and special rates not available in all counties or cases.
There'll be one last goodbye today to a Democratic civil rights leader. Former President Obama will deliver the eulogy at late Congressman John Lewis's funeral.
From Troy, Alabama on Saturday to Selma, then Washington, D.C. And finally, to Atlanta, where the celebration of the life of Georgia Congressman John Lewis continues. He died of pancreatic cancer on July 17th at age 80 and represented Georgia's 5th congressional district for more than 3 decades. Today's funeral for the civil rights icon is being held at Ebenezer Baptist Church. The Atlanta community is being asked to tie blue or purple ribbons on their front doors to honor John Lewis. Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
We're going to get an update on the economy. Actually, 2 updates in less than a half hour. The number of people who were out of work and needed to file new unemployment claims last week, and also a look at second quarter GDP numbers. Expected to be a big contraction because of this corona-caused recession. On Wall Street, Dow futures down more than 200 points. Basketball is back. The NBA season resumes tonight. 22 teams playing in a bubble in Orlando.
The NBA confirming 0 positive tests for the coronavirus among 344 players Wednesday. Welcome news for the association one day before they return to the hardwood in the Orlando bubble. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver telling Good Morning America he's approaching return to play with cautious optimism, with combating COVID-19 still weighing on everyone's mind.
I would say ultimately we would cease completely if we saw that this was spreading around the campus and something more than an isolated case was happening.
The New Orleans Pelicans and the Utah Jazz will open things back up for the NBA Thursday, along with the LA Clippers and LA Lakers. Matt Napolitano, Fox News.
Hockey season resumes Saturday, a 24-team playoff. I'm Dave Anthony, and this is Fox News.
Hi, my name is Matthew Gordon, Doctor of Physical Therapy at Mettler Center. COVID-19 hasn't stopped pain and injury, and it hasn't stopped physical therapy either. Telehealth can bring physical therapy to you while you stay home and flatten the curve. Our goal is to make the experience simple and stress-free. To help, we are offering the first telehealth session free of charge because we believe it is an essential part of the healthcare system right now. To get started today, visit metlercenter.com.
It's time to play another round of Name That Company. Today's lucky contestant is Hans from Illinois. How are you, Hans?
Doing well.
Are you ready for round one?
Yeah.
Okay, this company is an award-winning car dealership located right here in central Illinois.
Is it Hot Wheels?
Oh, so close. Their friendly and helpful staff is committed to helping you find the vehicle of your dreams.
Is it Matchbox?
They're located on the corner of Neal and Burwash in Savoy.
Oh, I know. It's Honda BMW Champaign.
That's right. Just like Honda BMW, you're a winner.
This is Eric Bolin with Provident Financial Group. At Provident, our job is to help clients plan for and get through some of life's toughest challenges. Our mission is to provide each of our clients with individualized strategies, premier service, and independent thinking to help them achieve their financial goals. Contact us today at 3017 Village Office Place in Champaign or call 217-366-3456 or find us online at providentfinancialgroupllc.com.
Securities and advisory services offered through Commonwealth Financial Network, member FINRA SIPC, a registered investment advisor.
Well, good morning. ESPN 93.5 3-day forecast brought to you by Watts Copy Systems. Excited to announce the opening of their new office at 475 Devonshire Drive in Champaign. Same great service, same great products. Call Greg Wolf, W-O-L-F-E. Greg Wolf today, 352-0428. Good morning, Diane Ducey.
Good morning, Stevie. Up to 76 today, believe it or not, and 63 our low tonight. We're expecting rainy conditions, some light rain this morning, and into the evening we have a 40% chance of showers. Tomorrow's high only up to 80, down to around 60 at night. Partly cloudy with a high 79 on Saturday, down to 62, 78 on Sunday. What a start to August. Right now the temperature's at 73 on ESPN 93.5.
I got the news somewhere around 10:30 yesterday morning that Lou Henson had died. Lou Henson, the legendary basketball coach for the University of Illinois, the winningest basketball coach in Illinois basketball history, the winningest basketball coach in New Mexico State history. He has 2 courts named after him, down at Las Cruces, New Mexico, and here in Champaign-Urbana, Illinois. Lou Henson was a great man, and he was a terrific basketball coach. We loved Lou Henson. Bigger than life around here. Kind, gentle, fun, and just all around wonderful family. So we grieve with the Hensons. Our prayers, our thoughts are with the entire Mary Henson family. They did not want people to know because of the COVID-19. They were concerned about everybody's health. It was a private family ceremony. And today, we honor Lou Henson. And again, our thoughts and prayers with the Henson family as Lou Henson passes away this last Saturday afternoon. The service was yesterday. It was private. The burial yesterday, it was private. And again, we honor Lou all day long. I've got a list of people to talk about Coach Henson, to talk about his basketball, to talk about his life. And we'll be doing that the entire 2 hours here of our program, The Stevie Jay Show, now seen on Facebook Live, YouTube channel, Periscope on Twitter, and, of course, ESPN 93.5. We begin. One of my favorite guys, one of my best friends, is Rob Judson, former Illinois basketball star, who still leads in free throw percentage for a season. It's Rob Judson. Now in Milwaukee, he is one of the assistant coaches for a fine basketball team up there at Marquette. Coach, how are you?
Good morning. Well, I'm good today, but it's a sad time for sure, and knowing that we lost Coach Henson, and as you mentioned, we're so sad to lose him, and our thoughts and prayers go out to Mary and the family, and what an influence he had over the course of his life and over the course of his career.
Why? I know that your dad and your uncle played basketball in Illinois. Was that the deciding factor for you to come? And tell me about how you were recruited in the late 70s.
Yeah, the first time I came to Assembly Hall was for the state tournament when I was a senior in high school. And one of my future teammates, Levi Cobb, won the state tournament that year at Morgan Park High School with a last-second shot. very exciting. And really, when I walked into the assembly hall, it just made me feel like this is where I want to come. I had a lot of tradition in my family with Illinois, with my dad and my mom and my uncles that played at Illinois, and so I kind of recruited Illinois. I wanted to go to Illinois, and so when Coach Henson offered me a scholarship, I took it. I visited Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan State, but I wanted to go to Illinois. So it was a good, terrific place for me, and Coach Henson had a big influence on my life, and really helped me during the time I was at Illinois, and helped me so much in my coaching career after I was graduated.
What made Lou Henson a great coach?
He was a hard worker. He made his players work very hard. He had high standards. At that time, the game was a little different than it is today. Really emphasized defense. You had to play defense to be able to play for Coach Henson, and you could not lose the ball. You could not turn the ball over. So you had to be very sound and play very hard. And the Big Ten was so competitive, Stevie. Think about the coaches at the time when in the Big Ten when Coach Henson first came to Illinois, right? With Bobby Knight, at Indiana, Lute Olson at Iowa. You had Jim Dutcher at Minnesota, Judd Heathcote at Michigan State. Later on, Gene Cady at Purdue. So just high level basketball, a lot of terrific players, and Lou brought the program from a very low point to national prominence, and had a terrific run.
Well, it was the Harv Schmidt era, then Gene Bartow for a day, and then Lou Henson was brought in. We hadn't heard of Lou Henson. We didn't know about New Mexico State. We didn't know where Las Cruces was. And then he came to Champaign-Urbana, got it going with the Rich Adams, and then it was the Rob Judsons, and then it was the Michigan State game with Eddie. What kind of a turning point, a tipping point was that for us?
That was just really the game that set the stage for national recognition, because at the time Michigan State was one of the top teams in the country. We were undefeated. It was a national exposure game, and then to have as an exciting finish as we had, really put Illinois at a spot where it was nationally recognized. And then, of course, we went on from there and into the 80s. And I don't know who said it, Stevie, but the 80s belonged to the Illini, right?
That's Henson, right.
Coach Henson won the Big Ten championship in '84, and a lot of good teams, culminating with the Flying Illini in '89. And that was a great era. Great era for Illinois basketball. A lot of terrific teams and a lot of players that were mainly from the state of Illinois.
Yeah. It was quite a run. And, boy, one thing about Lou Henson is he took over teams that weren't very good. I think New Mexico State had won 4 games the season before he arrived, and Illinois, of course, was stumbling through the 70s. And to take programs, turn them around, Rob, you know how hard that is.
It takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of effort. And don't forget, Stevie, the fact that Coach Henson retires at Illinois, is retired for a year, and then New Mexico State has some issues. The NCAA puts New Mexico State on probation. The coach is no longer coaching there. And Coach Henson, I'll never forget this, Coach Henson volunteers to go back to New Mexico State.
Yeah.
All right. Under those circumstances, he called me one morning. That was when I was coaching with Lon. I think you're going to have Lon on here soon too. And he said, let's meet for breakfast at, I believe it was Aunt Sonia's, right? So the old Aunt Sonia's. He said, let's meet for breakfast. I want to tell you something. He said, I'm going to go back to New Mexico State. I'm only going to coach for a year, and I'm only going to take $1. And I said, Coach, you're going to coach for more than a year, and you'll end up taking more than $1.
You called that.
And both of those were true. Both of those were true. But Stevie won 18 games. He won 18 games,
unreal.
And I think he went out there like in September, because of the timing of everything.
Yeah.
And then had a terrific run there. I mean, Coach Henson won almost 800 games. Let's put that in perspective. He won almost 800 games. That the mark, right, for coaching success is a 20-win season. That's 40 20-win seasons, Stevie. 40. I mean,
that's unbelievable.
That's a lot of wins.
It's unbelievable.
That's a lot of wins.
And probably should give some sort of steroid action to the win total in New Mexico, because as he told us once, they'd rather ride rodeo. I mean, this is That's
exactly right.
He said at the end of one of the games, this is classic. At the end of one of the games, the game is tied. His point guard says, "Coach, I've got to go to the bathroom." And Lou, he said, "Lou said, you've got to be kidding." And he said, we lost by 8.
Oh, no.
He said they'd rather ride rodeo. So to win that many games in Las Cruces in the day was like 30 wins. I mean, it's unbelievable. There just wasn't the emphasis as it was perhaps up here. Unbelievable.
Well, it's a great tribute that Coach Henson has a court named after him in Champaign and in Las Cruces.
Yeah.
And I don't know many coaches that I know. John Wooden has 2 courts named after him, Indiana State and UCLA, but I'm not sure that there's somebody else. So Illinois basketball and the Big Ten Network did a feature on Lou several years ago, and I was interviewed on that. And the thing about Lou, you say Lou around Champaign-Urbana, that's all you need to say.
Yep.
When you're a one name person, you've really established yourself, and so that's the way Coach Henson is, and certainly a giant in all of college basketball and an icon in Illinois basketball.
Rob, you're the best. We appreciate you. I hope we get to play basketball and you get on that bench again for Marquette. We hope that this coronavirus settles or we find a therapy or vaccine soon. But you're the best. We appreciate your thoughts on Coach Henson, and thanks for joining us.
All the best, too, Stevie. Thank you so much.
It's Rob Judson, former Illinois basketball player and, of course, coach for, 30-plus years as a college coach.
Great.
Fantastic human, Rob Judson. Love him, and he's great thoughts on Lou Henson. All right, it is 7:18. I'm Stevie Jay. This is our tribute to Lou Henson, who passed away Saturday. The services were yesterday. Coming up, Lon Kruger, who replaced Lou Henson. And then Mark Coombs at the bottom of the hour, a longtime assistant for Coach. Mark is going to give us the celebration of life, something that he would have given had it not been the time we are in. And the crowds that would have wanted to go to the visitation, to the funeral, would have been unbelievable. But because of this coronavirus, the family did not want to put people at risk and wanted it just a private. Mark Coombs is 18 hours away. In southern Florida. He was not here, but he wants to give what he would have said had he been here for the funeral, had there been a funeral in the traditional ways and not had this coronavirus. But Lon Kruger is next, ESPN 93.5.
I've been all over town, all over the internet, all over social media, and nobody has a freezer in stock.
Dick Van Dyke Appliance World has freezers.
Really?
That's right. Freezers are in short supply nationwide, but Dick Van Dyke Appliance World has true commercial-grade freezers in stock for a limited time.
That's incredible. I have a side of beef that I'm waiting on, and I was afraid I wouldn't find a freezer in stock. Is it a name brand I can trust?
These are Summit freezers. Summit is a commercial-grade brand and assembled here in the USA. Summit makes a top-of-the-line freezer made to last, and we'll back it up with our free 10-year protection plan.
I'm going to get one today. Wow.
Multiple sizes are available, but only while supplies last. It's Christmas in July with freezers in the middle of the summer at Dick Van Dyke Appliance World. Wow!
Dick Van Dyke Appliance World. We stand behind what we sell. We offer so much more. Dick Van Dyke Appliance World. When you buy from us, get the whole store.
Busey Bank is honored to serve you. To our healthcare workers, first responders, and local businesses, you're central to the communities we're proud to call home. Busey's grateful to partner with you and your families through life's ups and downs, today and for generations to come. Because as neighbors helping neighbors, we're in this together. Busey, grateful to serve the communities we call home. Member FDIC.
Flooring Surfaces is a local business that's open to serve the construction and housing industry. Over 1 million square feet of flooring options are in stock in Champaign, along with professional tools, adhesives, setting materials, and underlayments you need to build waterproof showers, tile kitchen backsplashes, and renovate entire floors of your home. Over 20 years of operation has made Flooring Surfaces your premier source for hardwood, carpet, laminate, porcelain tile, and everything else. Right now, we're starting the summer of savings with discounted pricing on hundreds of options. You'll find select in-stock hardwoods that are half off, double discounts on laminate floors, and tile that starts at $1.25 per square foot. So here's what to do. Call 398-1990 to arrange a showroom experience, a safe in-home consultation, or to have your order pulled and ready for pickup. We will help you find the right floor, and during the summer of savings, you'll find it for less. Don't worry, Flooring Surfaces has your floor covered.
Jets is celebrating 42 years of the best pizza on the planet. It starts with hand-pressed dough, fresh mozzarella, and sauce made from Mama Jet's secret family recipe, all baked to perfection for a thick, golden crunch. Get a one-topping Detroit-style 8-corner pizza for $10.99. Online only. Code ANV42. Jets. Better because it has to be.
Tribute to Lou Henson all morning long till 9 o'clock. We got a lot of great people coming up. Mark Coombs on his celebration of life. Still to come, Brad Underwood, Bruce Weber, Gene Cady, Mike White, Brother Johnny on spending the night in Las Cruces and other good Lou Henson stories.
Okay.
Doug Altenberger and Kenny Battle, along with Jim Turpin, all ahead. Happy to welcome back former Illini coach Lon Kruger, now with Oklahoma. Coach, how are you?
Stevie Jay, we're doing well. It was a crazy time, and yet we got to keep moving on and keep everyone positive and feeling good about the fight.
Tell me about Coach Henson. What impact he had, perhaps in college basketball? Why was he such a great coach?
Yeah, well, it's so sad to hear the news. He and Mary, just two of the nicest people, classiest people, and I think that's the thing that stands out with Coach. When Barb and I came in there to Illinois, how genuinely nice and how genuinely concerned they were about our transition, and he just kept reaching out, and what a marvelous guy, and certainly outstanding success as a basketball coach. But I think just the way he treated people was so special.
I think that's probably unique. Lon Kruger does the same thing, by the way. Lon is unbelievably gracious to people, very much like Lou Henson, but some of the things Lou and Mary did, nobody will ever know about. The kindness they showed to different people, I mean, that was a constant.
Absolutely. I have not talked to anyone that wouldn't have a similar, comment about Coach and Mary, and just unbelievably kind, and I think the thing is very caring and very genuine. It wasn't just a moment. I mean, you felt like they really meant it and really believed it, which I know they did.
Lon Kruger, coach of Oklahoma, of course, he took over for Lou. What was that like? You came from Florida. You'd gone to a Final Four with the Gators. And then to come up here to Champaign-Urbana, knowing the legacy that was, what were your thoughts on all that?
Well, we knew the success that the coach had, of course, and the great kind of tradition and around basketball. And obviously, we inherited a very good group of players. They won conference championship, a short time thereafter because of what we inherited and what Coach and his staff had assembled. So, it was interesting transition because Coach had so much success, but also an easy one because in terms of the talent that was in the program.
Yeah. Well, you came here. You did a great job. You turned that Big Ten run, the Big Ten championship. I mean, it was unbelievable what had happened because we were really struggling. We made that run in the Big Ten all the way to Sunday, and then, of course, we won a title with Lon Kruger. Wow.
Yeah, again, it's just really good players. That was the big thing, and then the Orange Crush and the fans and the love for basketball and all that made it really memorable for us, and hopefully special for the folks who follow Illinois basketball.
Yeah, well, we had that. What was it called? The Lon Kruger Breakfast Club. I came to Ubben at 7 in the morning, and you'd let little kids that didn't get a chance to have access see some of these great players. Who was it? Marcus says, "How you doing?" I'm Marcus. I mean, he's great and friendly. Those big guys are awesome. It was a lot of fun. You were certainly kind. I got to tell people, you allowed me to hang around a little bit, so I got to see some practices. And the maddest I ever saw Lon Kruger get was when Jerry G had gone the wrong direction. And you said, "Jerry, you didn't have a dadgum idea where you were." That's the angriest I'd ever seen Lon Kruger. And I also, before you left, I feel a little responsible because I'd seen, I think it was your daughter, Angie and Barb, in the flower shop, and I was trying to see if it's Angie, right? I was trying to see.
It's Angie, yep.
I was trying to see if Angie would want to babysit my triplets, and then my Monday, you'd taken the Hawk job, and I thought it was my fault. I said, "I've scared them out of town. He's left." And then I called Lon Kruger. I said, "I'd like to buy that beautiful house you have at Trails of Brittany. I want to offer $500 a month for 150 years. And I want to tell you what Lon Kruger said. He said, "Good start, good start, good start. Not comfortable with the terms, good start." That was it.
we wouldn't reject it outright. Got to keep talking.
It would have been $900,000, but it was a 150-year payment. So I did see the apprehension. Lon, you're the best. We appreciate you. We followed your career. There is nothing but fond and wonderful memories of the Krugers, and congratulations on all your success. Thanks for chiming in and talking about Coach.
Well, thanks. Appreciate the opportunity. What a special couple, Coach and Mary, and we appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck with Oklahoma. We appreciate you. Former Illinois basketball coach Lon Kruger, ESPN 93.5.
Sergio McClain, Frank Williams, Brian Cook, all players with him between 97 and 99.
And Rob Judson had come from Northern Illinois to be an assistant for Lon Kruger.
Okay.
That was one of his first hires to bring Rob Judson back, and Rob had the connections in Peoria to bring over Sergio and Marcus and Frank and all of those wonderful players we had. All right, ESPN 93.5. Coming up, the celebration of life as given by Mark Coombs, a longtime Lou Henson assistant. Stand by for that. Mark's in Florida. That'll be next. ESPN 93.5.
Hi, this is Steve from Good Vibes, your local dish retailer. You've heard me crow about the Dish Hopper 3. It's the best UVR system on the planet. And Dish is the value leader in TV service. So maybe it's time to look over that cable bill because we've got a new deal that's fantastic. Now that we're not so cooped up, home security is more important than ever. You can make your home safer with a Google Nest Hello video doorbell. Answer the door when you're not home. See who's at your door, even at night. Add sensors and it can record video so you see who was on premise, even if you weren't. It's the coolest smart home product ever, and now you can get one on us. Just sign up for Dish with the Hopper 3, and you'll upgrade your TV, and we'll upgrade your home security, no extra charge.
Offer ends 9/30/20. Monthly equipment fees and other restrictions apply. Requires internet connection.
Introducing the U of I Community Credit Union's Business Bounce Back Contest. At the U of I Community Credit Union, it's all about campus and community. And now we're helping local businesses spread their message after these difficult past few months. Go to StevieJay.com and sign up your business to win one of 3 $1,000 ad campaigns. The U of I Community Credit Union is always looking for ways to do more good. And this is just one more way we can do our part. So go to StevieJay.com and sign up your business today. No purchase necessary. Winners to be selected during the week of August 3rd.
Crossroads Contractor Supply specializes in the delivery of tools and supplies within a 150-mile radius of Champaign-Urbana. Reliable, timely, and with reasonable prices, Crossroads Contractor Supply knows what equipment and tools are needed for your job. Their slogan, we have it when you need it. Get the job done right with proper tools and equipment. Did something break? Construction materials as well as safety equipment, all available. Call 402-8123. Visit Crossroads Contractor Supply IL.com.
Get the roof your home deserves. Roof Doctors. They have honest, reasonable rates. They give you competitive prices up front. No gimmicks or contractor pricing games. You can rely on Roof Doctors. No deposit required. No subcontractors. Over 30 years in business in the industry. Check out Roof Doctors at roofdoctorsco.com or call Tammy or Randy at 328-7529. Roof Doctors, 328-7529. Oh, the sounds of the pep band, Assembly Hall, Mark Coombs, longtime assistant, Lou Henson. Mark, how are you?
I'm doing all right, Stevie. How are you doing?
Well, fine. And I know, obviously, you knew of Saturday that Coach had passed, and I guess it wasn't you weren't tremendously surprised. Coach has been struggling a little bit with his health in the last year or so, and frankly, for the last 17 years, there's been stuff. But boy, how would you describe Lou Henson?
Well, I'm going to. Should I start?
I'd say yes. I've been telling it it's a celebration of life. It's had there not been coronavirus, this would have been unbelievable to manage the crowds that would have wanted to pay their respects to Coach and Mary. So yes, Mark Coombs. Now with what you've written over the last a while, right?
A while. I've been working on it a while, Stevie. Thank you.
All right, go right ahead.
This is going to be a celebration of the essence and goodness of Coach Henson's life through my eyes. What a great life it was. The one thing that you can say for sure was that he had a profound positive effect on thousands and thousands of people. This is a huge part of his legacy. When you think of Coach Henson, the two schools that come to mind are Illinois, where he won 423 wins, and New Mexico State, where he won 289 wins. The winningest coach at both schools, and his name is on both their basketball courts. Those are the last stats that you'll be hearing from me today. As I am here as a 68-year-old man, I think back quickly to June 1967 when I was 15 years old, and I was staying with my Uncle Lou, Aunt Mary, and family in Las Cruces, New Mexico. I was in Williams' gym on the campus of New Mexico State when he came out of his dilapidated basement with a basketball under his arm. That day changed my life forever. He demonstrated to me how important backspin was on the shot, and he told me to snap my wrist. And he demonstrated the rocker step to me, which was an offensive maneuver to get your shot. Later that summer, he demonstrated the crossover and the reverse dribble. I was hooked and worked to become a skilled basketball player with very, very limited athletic ability. However, I was exposed to different ethnic groups that summer and the two summers thereafter for the first time in my life, and I really liked it a lot. You could characterize my basketball playing days by saying I was a big fish in a very small pond. But basketball appealed to me greatly, and Coach gave me an opportunity to work for him on 3 different occasions. My story, however, is not unique. Joe Lopez, Keith Colson, Rob Evans, John Burgess, Ed Murphy, Tony Yates, Les Whitkey, Bob Hall, Jimmy Collins, Dick Nagy, Mark Beal, Russ Bradford, Tony Stubblefield, Thomas Trotter, all assistant coaches for Lou that could get up before you right now and tell you their story about how Coach helped to shape their lives and their careers. We all know he was unwavering in his loyalty towards us. He would do anything to help our careers. We also have grad assistants and managers who could get up before you here and do the same thing. The success these groups have had after Illinois and New Mexico State is amazing. As a small sample size, take our 89 group. Ryan Baker is now the anchor for CBS News in Chicago. Scott Nagy is now a highly successful basketball coach, had a great run at South Dakota State, and is going into the NCAA every other year at Wright State. Dr. John Giannini won a national championship at Rowan, had a great run at Maine and LaSalle, and is currently an AD and TV commentator. And of course, Dr. Jim Phillips, who is recognized as one of the top, if not the top, athletic director in the country at Northwestern University. And in 2 years, he will be the head of the selection committee for the NCAA tournament. All of us have always had a comfort level working for Coach. Coach Dick Nagy once said, "When you work for Coach Henson, You know you will have a job and win because you know he knows what he is doing. Winning was always in Coach's DNA. He worked for 5 athletic directors at Illinois. Enough said. Coach Henson had some very, very strong character traits that created a foundation for his continued successes throughout his career. Number 1, he always put his family first, and the family always supported him first. Everyone knows that Aunt Mary and Lou were made to be a basketball couple. She loved him dearly, supported him unequivocally, and defended him against all detractors with all of her might. And believe me, Aunt Mary has a lot of might. Louis Ray, who we lost way too early, Lori, Lisa, and Leanne were all adored by their father and themselves sacrificed much for his career. The transition from Las Cruces to Champaign was very difficult for the 3 older children. He dearly loved his grandchildren and great-grandchildren. He was unbelievably gracious to Mary's brothers, sisters, nieces, and nephews. She likewise to his siblings, nieces, and nephews. In 1975, when Coach had an opportunity to go to Illinois or Oklahoma at the same time and chose Illinois, the Brantners, Mary's family of Northwest Illinois, had a 21-year run revolving around Illinois basketball, and it cemented our family tremendously. Number 2, Coach had a strong work ethic, both on and off the floor. Coach was an absolute grinder. He only needed 4 hours of sleep during the season, and he was working all the time. Number 3, he demanded execution of fundamental basketball on offense, defense, and special situations. Practice makes perfect was Coach's motto. You don't think that Ken Norman shot at Wisconsin at the end of the game, or Andy Kaufman shot against Iowa, or Nick Anderson shot against Indiana. Just happened by accident, do you? We practiced those. He had a great emphasis on time management, number 4. In our culture, everybody had to be on time. He always reasoned you need to be in time to go to class, study hall, practice, because someday you're going to have to work for someone, and you'll have to be on time for them too. And lastly, one of Coach's greatest strengths, and trustee Dave Doris always said this to me, and I totally agree with him, was in his flexibility and looking at the game and putting the players in the best positions to be successful, both on offense and defense. His style of play changed from year to year and took advantage of the players. You tell me, how can you explain his first year at New Mexico State with the Miracle Midgets? They were in the 40s and the 50s, versus 3 years later with Jimmy Collins, Sam Lacey, and Charlie Chris, when they went to the Final Four and they were in the 90s and the 100s without a shot clock or a three-point shot. Or the 1984 Illinois team, which was one game away from going to the Final Four after getting beat at Kentucky at Rupp. A slow, methodical, deliberate team, walked the ball up the floor, tough, defensively minded, versus our 89 team, Flying Illini, where we ran and pressed and dunked and had 90s and 100s and had 127 points at LSU. Please make no mistake, Coach was sometimes not a warm and fuzzy coach to play for or to work for. He was old school from the Hank Iba School of basketball. Players and coaches alike learned that details were very important. He set the example, a great example, and expected every player and coach to do the same. He utilized these aforementioned points to become a great builder of downtrodden programs. Coach Henson never took a good job at the time. Las Cruces High School was his first job. Very shortly thereafter, he won 3 straight championships, state championships. Hardin Simmons was his second job. In the middle of the Bible Belt in Abilene, Texas, they offered him the job, and he would not take that job until they allowed him to integrate the school. Can you imagine in 1962, any 30-year-old high school coach turning down a college basketball job because he demanded the school allow him to integrate the basketball team and essentially the school? Hall of Fame recognition came for Coach at Hardin Simmons in 1997. Here are the words that followed his induction. The color barrier was broken in Hardin Simmons athletics for the first time when Coach Lou Henson brought to the 40 acres 2 junior college transfers from Okolana Junior College of Okolana, Mississippi. Nate Matkins and Art Haynes were the first black players to don a cowboy uniform. That was on his plaque. Coach Henson was a true trailblazer 58 years ago when it wasn't fashionable to do. Fairness and giving people opportunities were always ingrained in Coach's soul. After Hardin Simmons came New Mexico State. They were 4-22 the year before he got there. His first team, the Miracle Midgets, beat the defending national champions, University of Texas El Paso, twice. And they had 3 starters led by David Lavin that year. They beat the great New Mexico team with Mel Daniels and Oklahoma City when they were a top 10 team. In the NCAA tournament, they went for the first time, the first year he was there, and got beat in the first round by the great Alvin Hayes and John Chain, 59-58. He became AD shortly thereafter, went to the Final Four, built the Pan American Center, and then came 1975. The most difficult of any of the previous jobs by far. Why is the question that Coach Henson took Illinois over Oklahoma, his home state. Part of it is Murray's family, but the other part is Coach's appetite for competition. If you've ever watched him play dominoes, gin rummy, bridge, 500, checkers, recruiting, scouting, game planning, or game themselves, Lou loves competition, and he loves how to figure out to win. The Big Ten at that time was the best conference in the country, but Illinois had major issues. They were not far removed from the slush fund. They had back-to-back last-place finishes with him being the third coach. The Illinois Basketball Association, the coaches were mad because Mr. Coleman had not hired a high school coach to fill the position. The Chicago coaches were mad because they didn't feel they got treated fairly when they came to the state tournament in Champaign. The AD was very frugal, and we had very limited facilities. There was no student group, no rebound, no Orange Crush, no adult group, no rebounders. And to make matter worse, Lute Olson was at Iowa in the West recruiting Illinois players like Ronnie Lester, Michael Payne, and Kenny Arnold. And to the East, Bob Knight was winning national championships with Ken Buckner, Isaiah Thomas, and getting Illinois players like Glenn Grunwald, Marty Simmons, Derek Holcomb, etc. Our first year, 75-76, we were very competitive. We beat Michigan with the great Ricky Green and John Robinson from Hirsch and the great Phil Hubbard. They got second in the country that year, Indiana. And we beat Purdue when we beat their 13-game winning streak against Illinois. By year 4, after they beat Michigan State and Irvin Johnson, Illinois was off to the races. When I came back in 85, I actually thought I was on another planet 10 years later. The common denominator throughout those 20 years was always Coach's expertise in his coaching, recruiting, and his great PR. Lastly, 2 personal traits that I thought were absolutely extraordinary about Coach Henson. Number 1, his patience and his being genuinely nice to people. And number 2, his ability to forgive and forget. On the aforementioned point, I have witnessed him giving hundreds and hundreds of people his time with conversation, photographs, or autographs. Going to visitations, funerals, or hospitals to see people he didn't know because of a phone call was standard operating procedure for Lou and Mary. His presence lit up the bowling alley, the Bridge Center, the Esquire, nursing homes, and Assembly Hall whenever he was there. He and Aunt Mary were the most hospitable and generous people that you can ever imagine. The second trait deals with his uncanny ability to forgive and forget. During his coaching career, especially at Illinois, sports writers, fans, broadcasters, and players would say or write very uncomplimentary things in newspapers and books, or on radio and television and podcasts. Coach was a man of great faith, and we know where he is now. He never held grudges. He was once quoted after he and Coach Knight had a verbal confrontation in Champaign by saying, "You have a flare-up, and then you go on. I've never been one to hold grudges. He believed, as Jesus taught his followers, to reject revenge and retaliation, and instead he told his followers to turn the other cheek. What a great lesson he practiced in life. Being gracious to people and turning the other cheek is the depth and the strength of Uncle Lou's life. The basketball has stopped bouncing for Uncle Lou. The great era of Coach Lou Henson in college basketball has come to an end with his passing, but it will never, ever be forgotten. Thank you, Stevie.
Wow. Thank you, Mark. Wonderful job. Mark Coombs, we thank you so much. Celebration of life from, family member, the nephew of Mary, and longtime assistant for Lou Henson, Mark Coombs. ESPN 93.5. Coming up, Brad Underwood, Bruce Weber, and Gene Cady.
Hey kids, want to hear a scary story? It was a dark and stormy night, and suddenly, from out of nowhere, a noise. It was a company's hard drive failing after being struck by an IT disaster. Kids, where'd you go?
It might not sound scary, but over 90% of small businesses fail within 2 years after being struck by an IT disaster. Let Area Wide Technologies in Champaign design a recovery plan for you. Give them a call at 359-8041.
Hi, I'm Troy Lands, owner of Lands Inc. Your heating and cooling system works hard for you all year long to keep you and your family comfortable. That's why it's important to have it maintained and serviced regularly. Our techs are ready to help you with all your indoor air quality, humidity, and filtration needs. Visit landsinc.com today for specials on a brand new train system for your home and to see for yourself why it's hard to stop a train. At Lands Inc., our commitment is to you, the customer. I'm Troy Lands, and you can count on my company because you can count on me.
Very touching celebration of life given by Mark Coombs. Thank you, Mark. We really appreciate that. This was a private ceremony for Lou yesterday. He passed away. Lou Henson died on Saturday. Because of coronavirus, the family wanted to be just a family gathering. They did not want to put the throngs of people that would have wanted to pay tribute to this great man. Former Illinois basketball coach and my neighbor, Bruce Weber, Kansas State. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing fine, Stevie. It's great to be on with you. Obviously, it's sad to have to talk about Coach Henson's passing, and just a special man that impacted so many people, different universities, and you go back to even to his Hardin-Simmons and how he integrated the program, and you think about that time, that era, and now where we're at. And he was somebody that did things ahead of everybody else. So, just a good person who did so many things for so many.
He could flat out coach, but man, the things that he did that nobody ever knew about, visiting a sick kid, kind words, letters, phone calls that he and Mary did all the time. And that's the stuff that, I think he did probably more of than basketball. He did a lot of that.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. When you're a coach, you want to win games. You want to have your players graduate. But you also want to impact communities. And he did that both in Champaign and also, at New Mexico State. And there's so few coaches in this that could live in both communities after they retire. And usually you retire and it's tough to go back where you came from. You wish you could, but, coaching such a volatile position. Yeah. And, you leave always, there's always something that happens at the end, but, it just kind of credit to both of them that they were welcome in Champaign. They were welcome in New Mexico. They pretty much everywhere they went. That shows he did more than just basketball.
And he was. Mark mentioned how competitive Coach was, and I told Mary this about 6 months ago. When you dunked on Illinois, you dunked on Lou. He didn't like it at all. He really got mad.
I just remember I was visiting with Coach Katie yesterday about Coach, and just some of the games we had at Purdue, the intensity of the games. In '84, when we tied them for the championship, the game at Mackey Arena, it was one of the most intense games, loudest games that I was part of. And then we had another year where we both, I think we won at our place by 25, and they beat us at their place by 40. And it just, he was very, very competitive, and they played hard all the time, played defense. Obviously, his dual team, the Flying Illini, that team played with such intensity and togetherness, and I'm sure that's what a lot of people remember the one year, but he got his guys to play all the time.
Well, listen, I got Gene Katie about to jump on as well, and just imagine the 17 years you were fired every Friday. When you came to Illinois, you knew you had a job for at least the season, right? I mean, it was just your training, your upbringing coming from the Gene Katie branch. I mean, made you a pretty tough coach too, and you're still doing great, and your teams play defense. And man, I tell you what, we loved Bruce Weber and his family around here. We really miss you, and we're glad you're doing well over at K-State.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'm glad you're doing well. And my heart goes out to the Henson family and Mary and all their siblings, and it's just sad, And I talked to my wife yesterday, Megan, and we were talking about it. The last time I saw him was at the Final Four. He always came to the Final Four. He loved college basketball. He loved just the players, and this is sad. And then, you're talking to my old boss, and I talk to him not every day, but almost every day, and because how much he's impacted me and all the players that he's coached, and that's what Coach Henson also did.
Bruce, appreciate it. Great hearing your voice. Thank you, and congratulations on being a grandfather, which is even better. Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. We just had our fourth one, Christy, March 17th. That was in the middle of the pandemic.
Wow.
And, it was pretty cool to be part of it. Just happy he's doing well, and our families are doing well, and hope yours are also.
We are as well,
Coach.
We
miss you.
We miss you, too. Thanks for being on today.
Thank you.
That's Kansas State basketball coach Bruce Weber. And now, Gene Katie. Coach, how are you? Coach, are you there? Let me try this again. Oops. Can you try calling back? Former Purdue coach Gene Katie. We'll get him back on. All right, and glad you're listening. This is our tribute to Lou Henson, who died on Saturday. Services were yesterday. They were all private. Because of the coronavirus, the family thought it best for the health of everybody to do it that way. And can you imagine the long lines of people that have a Lou Henson story? Do you know somebody that has a Lou Henson story? If you've been around this community very long, you have a Lou Henson story. The lines would have been long. It would have been hard for people to stay away, so they kept it quiet. And I think it was incredible that they thought of so many about that and the dangers and everything else. Coach, are you with me?
Now you can hear. Now I can hear you. Yes.
Gene Katie, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, Coach, I want to thank you for the years of promotion that you gave me on the radio, because I always had a contest at what minute mark when you were in Champaign would you tear off your coat, and it was always fun. It was always fun, and I was at the scorer's table for 20 years, Coach Katie, and I saw you work. I saw your intensity. I knew Lou's intensity. Talk about Lou Henson and the rivalry you had, and ultimately what you think he's meant to college basketball.
Well, I talked to Dan Dovich about this last night, and he was instrumental in a lot of us becoming better, because if you didn't play your best, you weren't going to beat him. So he, like Bobby Knight, helped all of us get better. He's one of those coaches that I knew him when he was in New Mexico State. He was great for the game. He was always much appreciated by other coaches, and he taught the right stuff.
But you guys had, time, and it wasn't always smooth. The rivalry was, you couldn't stand losing to Illinois, and he certainly didn't like losing to you. And then you come into Champaign.
No, probably.
You go ahead.
Yeah, you know, the Indiana people thought our rivalry was the most important to them, but I thought the Illinois one was, because Illinois is closer to us, and we always had a great amount of competition every game, as you know.
Yeah. No, I remember vividly Muscle Beach. Rowinski, was that the guy that banked it in? Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, from half court.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. It had to be one of the great moments, because you came from so far behind and you pulled out a victory in Champaign-Urbana. But I know the rivalry was there, and I know Coach appreciated that as well, because he knew Purdue was going to be ready to play.
Well, we got to work the next morning. Everybody said, well, too bad about the game last night. I said, what time did you go to bed? She said, we quit at halftime. I said, well, we pulled it out. They about fainted, so it was an unreal situation.
Well, again, I appreciate you being on. And what are you doing these days, Coach?
Well, we live in Myrtle Beach. It's a great neighborhood. We have a lot of good people around us, and it's just one of those situations where Kathleen's sister lived here, and we came up and visited, and we bought a place here and stayed here since I retired from St. John's.
Well, we appreciate your thoughts on Coach Henson this morning. Coach, thanks for being on, and stay healthy.
Well, thank you. Yeah, he was one of those coaches that you cared about his family, because he was so caring about you, and we had a great relationship. Thank you.
Thank you. Coach Gene Cady, former Purdue basketball coach and big rival of Lou and, of course, Illinois.
From 1980 to 2005.
Yeah, 25 years of Gene Cady. All right, hope you're enjoying our tribute to Lou Henson. Still to come, Kenny Battle. Mike White, former Illinois football coach.
Nice.
Brother Johnny on some of his recollections of being with the Hensons in New Orleans and also Las Cruces, and Lou flying on his airplane a number of times. Doug Altenberger, Jim Turpin. Jim and Lou, of course, very close, as was, of course, Lauren Tate. Probably his best friend here was Lauren Tate. There's no question. Joe Thompson, some of Lou's really close friends. So we'll talk to all of these wonderful people coming up. And I know I said Brad Underwood. We expect Brad to be calling in as well, because Brad was a player at Kansas State. And, of course, in the 80s, when you're a basketball player at Kansas State, you know all about Lou Henson in Illinois as the Fighting Illini from nothing to something big. That's how Lou Henson did it. ESPN 93.5. We'll break for the news at the top of the hour and be right back.
This is Rob Meyer with Provident Financial Group. At Provident, our mission is to help people plan for and get through some of life's toughest challenges. We provide each of our clients with individualized strategies, premier service, and independent thinking to help them achieve their financial goals. Contact us today at 3017 Village Office Place in Champaign, or call 217-366-3456, or find us online at providentfinancialgroupllc.com.
Securities and advisory services offered through Commonwealth Financial Network, member FINRA SIPC, a registered investment advisor.
If you're looking for a job with a company that has integrity and treats you like family, apply at Roof Doctors. Roof Doctors is hiring. They have a reputation of excellence and have served our community for over 30 years. Join a team that'll make you excited to wake up in the morning. Roof Doctors. They'll treat you like family. To apply, call 328-7529. That's Roof Doctors, locally owned and operated, 328-7529.
Tatman's Towing, the most trusted towing and roadside service in downstate Illinois, is looking for a few outstanding people. You need a desire to provide customers quality service with integrity and honesty, a commitment to maintain a more than 45-year tradition of excellence, a clean driving record, and love to solve problems and work outdoors. If you want to join the Tatman's team, apply in person in Urbana at 810 East Perkins Road or online at tatmanstowing.com. tatmanstowing.com.
The Long Branch is open. The Long Branch is open. Long Branch Steakhouse in downtown Gifford is now reopened for indoor seating. Stop by and let Donnie cook you up terrific steaks, burgers, pork chops, ribs, and so much more. The wait is finally over because Long Branch Steakhouse is now open for indoor seating. And with their full regular menu available, you simply can't go wrong. Stop by Wednesday through Saturday from 5 to 9 p.m. and let Donnie give you a meal you won't soon forget. At 310 South Main Street, downtown downtown Gifford.
It's the hottest sale of the summer, and it's happening at Game Day Spirit on Neal Street. The third annual Epic Clearance event is Friday, July 31st through Sunday, August 2nd. Incredible deals on Illini tees from $4, hats from $5, polos from $15, and more. Find great deals for every Illini fan in your family. Follow Game Day Spirit on Facebook for exclusive previews. Don't miss this epic sale July 31st through August 2nd at the Game Day Spirit location at the corner of Neal and Kirby in Champaign. And go Illini!
You're listening to WSJK ESPN 93.5 Tuscola, Champaign-Urbana, your home for the St. Louis Cardinals.
This is a Fox News alert. The coronavirus sickened the economy. I'm Dave Anthony. It shrank by a record amount in the spring, and unemployment rose last week. Both new filings and the number of people still getting checks. Fox's Tanya J. Powers details the Just Out reports live.
Dave, economists have been expecting more dismal economic news, and today they got it in the form of those two new reports. As for the impact of the coronavirus on the economy, second quarter gross domestic product numbers show the U.S. economy shrank at a dizzying 33% annual rate in the April to June quarter. That's the largest GDP drop in U.S. history on record. And another 1.4 million people filed for unemployment benefits for the first time last week, bringing the total of unemployed Americans to 17 million. It comes a day before that $600 boost in unemployment payments is set to end. Dave.
And Tanya, on Wall Street, stock futures are way down ahead of today's trading. The recent coronavirus surge has now sent deaths in the U.S. over 150,000. President Trump has just tweeted a question that could reverberate after he again rails about mail-in voting. He wrote, "Delay the election until people can properly, securely, and safely vote?" The president claims the use of the mail would make this the most inaccurate and fraudulent election in history. It was another night of this in Portland. Federal officers clashing with protesters outside a courthouse, though the plan is starting today to reduce that federal force.
This was a political theater for the Trump administration to bring federal troops into Portland streets.
Democratic Oregon Governor Kate Brown will send in more state police officers, but the head of Homeland Security says the federal officers won't leave until the situation is secure. And a new tropical storm could be hitting Florida this weekend. Isaias is also targeting Puerto Rico. America's listening to Fox News.
Do you know you might be overpaying for your Medicare supplement plan? Do you get lost in an alphabet maze of plans like A, B, C, D, and G, F? Would you like help getting out of the maze and finding the very best plan for you? We are experienced Medigap agents at Health IQ, and we are on a mission to give people like you fair and square Medigap rates. Health IQ is the only insurance agency that rewards seniors proactively working on their health, like eating right and exercising. You don't have to be an athlete to save money. We reward healthy lifestyles of all kinds. Do you take your vitamins and supplements? Do you stay active and in the know about things that impact your health? If so, you could save money with Health IQ. Let us help you take care of your Medicare supplement needs. To see if you qualify for exclusive savings on Medicare supplement insurance, go to healthiq.com/Medigap. To start saving, go to healthiq.com/Medigap. That's HEALTHIQ.com/MEDIGAP.
Health IQ is an agency offering plans from different insurance carriers. No government or Medicare affiliation. Coverage and special rates not available in all counties or cases.
Republican Congressman Louis Gohmert says he's tired but fine now that he's got COVID-19.
I told Mr. President, if you had not invited me to go with you to West Texas, I would never have known I had the coronavirus.
Gohmert got tested before he was supposed to go on yesterday's trip with the president, and the congressman also told Fox he will take hydroxychloroquine, the controversial drug President Trump has been touting. Now, Gohmert's positive test led to this.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi told colleagues they're now required to wear masks while on the House floor unless they're addressing the chamber.
The chair views the failure to wear a mask as a serious breach of decorum.
Pelosi says she could direct a sergeant at arms to remove members for violating decorum. Top House Republican Kevin McCarthy has called for testing for lawmakers and staff. A White House offer for rapid testing capabilities in May declined by Pelosi and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Jared Halpern, Fox News.
Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg back in a hospital again.
The High Court says Justice Ginsburg underwent a minimally invasive procedure in New York City to revise a bile duct stent that was placed last year when she was treated for a cancerous tumor on her pancreas. The Supreme Court says it's a common occurrence, and she's resting comfortably at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. Last month, the 87-year-old justice underwent another procedure at Johns Hopkins University to clean out that stent. Ginsburg said earlier this month that she's undergoing chemotherapy for a recurrence of cancer. She has survived 4 earlier bouts. Rob Dawson, Fox News.
Look at our top Fox story. The economy shrank at a record level in the second quarter, 32.9% contraction because of the corona shutdowns. And both weekly jobless claims and the number of people still collecting unemployment both rose. That could lead to a sell-off on Wall Street. Dow futures down more than 200 points. I'm Dave Anthony, and this is Fox News.
I'm Jamie Monticelli with your ESPN 93.5 local news update. The Illinois High School Association is moving some sports to the spring season, and all sports are expected to be played with 4 shortened seasons for the 2020-2021 school year. The IHSA says golf, tennis, cross country, and swimming, diving will be done in the fall, while football, girls volleyball, and boys soccer will be played during the spring 2021 season. Schools will be responsible for creating their own schedules. A 43-year-old Champaign woman is accused of stabbing another woman during a fight last month. Laura Peb Manning allegedly stabbed a woman in the back during a fight in the 1200 block of Providence Circle. She was arraigned on Wednesday for aggravated battery. She is due back in court in September. Bond for the woman was set at $25,000. Police had gotten an anonymous tip identifying Manning as the suspect. You're up to date. I'm Jamie Monticelli.
Well, we want to remind people that your last day to register for the UICCU Business Bounce Back is tomorrow.
Yes.
So University of Illinois Community Credit Union, because of coronavirus, they want to award 3 businesses with $1,000 in advertising with us.
It's great.
So you go to StevieJay.com, and you can give yourself a chance to win this. Now, you have to get it. It takes you a few minutes. They're going to name, address, phone number, and your name of the business and why you're applying. And the selections will be made. They'll be announced next week. University of Illinois Community Credit Union Business Bounce Back Contest. You have till tomorrow at 5 o'clock to get those entries in. So good luck. All right, let's check your ESPN 93.5 3-day weather from the National Weather Service.
Up to 77, cloudy, occasional rain showers throughout the day. 63 our low tonight with still a 40% chance of rain. Some clouds on tomorrow's forecast as we wrap up July. We've got a high 80 expected, down to around 60 in the evening. 79 the high both Saturday and Sunday with cloudy conditions. There's a 50% chance of showers on Sunday. Right now the temperature's at 73 on ESPN 93.5.
All right, we are doing a tribute to Lou Henson, who passed away in Champaign on Saturday afternoon. The services were yesterday. The family wanted it to be private because of the situation in our world with coronavirus. Our thoughts and prayers are with Mary and the entire Henson family on the loss of a great man. Glad you're listening to ESPN 93.5. I'm Stevie Jay. I'm very, very happy to welcome our next guest. Are you ready for this? Ladies and gentlemen, former Illinois head football coach, the great Mike White, who single-handedly brought excitement back to Illinois football. And coach, I still remember vividly, Dave Wilson, back to pass, long left side bomb to Greg Dentino, incomplete, and the stands were full of cheering Illini because you passed the ball.
Yeah, we weren't within 10 feet of catching it either. It was a long, it was great, and those are among my coaching repertoire. Obviously, my Illinois experience and what happened, just like you mentioned there, and then my relationship with Neil Stoner and all that stuff. And then, unfortunately, I know that we're communicating today relative to Lou Henson. Mm-hmm. And I tell you, he was a perfect man to, basketball and football, and you're working hard all and to get things organized and stuff. And I couldn't have had a better friend than Lou Henson, and how he handled himself. And I think hasn't he been back and forth into Champaign?
Oh yeah. He's
living there.
Yep. He and Mary have been here for a while because of all the treatments and the various illnesses. And he of course was diagnosed back in 2003. And being the fighter that he is, he made it 17 more years. But what an impact on not only just coaching, Mike, but also he was just a good human being. Yeah.
Well, that's. And some coaches come and go and think they're doing they try to make it sound like they're doing you a favor for saying hello or being a good representative. And Lou was, he was the best because he proved it. I'm sure. In fact, I when I was back there for the Hall of Fame for Dave Wilson, for my guys this summer, I didn't see Lou, and I guess at that time they said he wasn't doing too well, but listen, Stevie, there was nobody better than Lou, and as I said, what I was trying to spit out is that he was so happy and proud of Champaign, Illinois, and the school and the people there, and he just went about his business and had great teams and had a lot of loyalty along the way. So I was really, really sorry to hear about this, but again, I hope everything. And nowadays, it's a hard call because whether it's a wedding or a funeral, some of these things don't get taken care of the right way.
That's right. No, we're in a really unusual time in American history, and so Mary wanted to have a very private family ceremony and burial, and so it's just listen. It's he left a legacy, and he certainly touched my life. When I first started in talk radio, and I was Jim Turpin hired me. Jim would he'd get on the radio and he'd say, "Tell me what you think of the new kid," and people would call and just pound me. I mean, how bad I was and everything else. And Lou Henson, in the height of his popularity in the middle 80s, he walked into the radio station. I had a zero value, and he said, "I think you're doing a tremendous job. I want to be on your show. I want to be on your show." And why? I mean, what value was I to him? And he did that for a young kid that really appreciated. And I had, again, zero value, and he did that. That's the kind of guy he was.
But that's it. That's how sincere he was, because he wasn't. It wasn't a sales pitch, or he wasn't trying to make a pitch for somebody to enhance his, whatever. And so that's Lou, and that's the way he was, and because of my son Chris, who was playing at the same time, and they all the basketball and the football and all of us being reasonably successful, it was great. I mean, it really was great. And so it wasn't a fantasy world or anything. It was just some good people working hard, and of course you can't forget Neil Stoner.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because of the tailgate. In fact, when I went back for the Hall of Fame this year, they had it was an all timer. In fact, some guy gave me some bear meat or something. I don't know what the heck they were doing. I was afraid I was in trouble or something. But it was. My point is what Neil Stoner did, not to lose the train of thought, but what Neil did for that school, and to hear how many years later they're still having a tailgate, and people are all over the place, and it was like it was fun. I at least had a golf cart, because otherwise I'd still be out there, walking the North 40 just to say hello to all the alums and all that. So,
well, you're another guy that people love, and people appreciate what Mike White did for the University of Illinois, and I'm so glad you could give us your thoughts about Lou Henson, who passed away this past Saturday afternoon. But I appreciate you, Mike White. I appreciate all you've done for Illinois, and we will never forget the run you had here, and the 80s certainly belong to the Illini.
Well, I appreciate that, and makes me feel good, and all my family is, the best stop we had in our coaching tree, pro and college, and this and that, were by far the greatest experience was Illinois and the Midwest people, and it's just unbelievable. When I went back there this year, I thought I was still there.
No, because everybody thought Mike White knew them. That's how good you were with people. They really believed they knew Mike, and you meant a lot to us then. And I know that Lou Henson respected and liked you a lot as well. So, but I really appreciate your thoughts this morning, Coach. It's been great connecting, and you sound fantastic. So,
well, thanks a lot, and I just. For those that are still with him, I mean, and supporting him and respecting what he did, be sure you let him know that I believe that in spades.
You betcha.
That's what made the Illinois basketball so successful, and anyway, so thanks a lot.
You bet, Coach. Thank you. Great catching up with you. Thanks for your thoughts about Coach Lou.
Okay, and we miss that place, I'll tell you that.
Well, we miss you too. Thanks again for being on.
Thanks, man.
Former Illinois football coach Mike White, ESPN 93.5. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the greatest players, one of my favorite all-time players, has been Kenny Battle. He's in Texas. Kenny, are you there? Are you there, Kenny?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
It's like a lot of static or buzz in there, but I can hear you.
Well, you say Kenny, I say Battle, Kenny, Battle, Kenny, Battle, Kenny. I mean, I once asked Lou Henson about you, and I said, there's got to be a time when he dogs it. There's got to be a time when he's not going 120 miles an hour. And Coach said he does it in practice. He's the same all the time. You live life the way it ought to be lived, man. You live it because you live full, die empty. I think that's Kenny Battle, and we loved watching Kenny Battle play. Talk about Lou Henson and what he meant to you in college basketball.
Well, he's one of the greats. A lot of people are finally realizing it, that how great of a coach he was, great of a person, a mentor, a friend, a father, a husband. I mean, he was just an unbelievable person to be around. And he had so many great qualities, but he just, we were blessed as Illinoisans to have someone that really loved the University of Illinois the way that Coach Henson did.
Why did you come here? You were at Northern Illinois, high-flying guy. Why Illinois?
Well, you know what? Illinois was my first choice. But Coach Henson, Coach Nagy, Coach Collins came to my house for a dinner prior to graduating high school, and my mother had fixed a big dinner for him, and they came out, and he told me, he said, well, Kenny, we're thinking about redshirting you, and everyone that was recruiting me that year, I had many offers of many big-time universities. And everyone knew that I wanted to play as a freshman. It was important to me to play. And, in fact, when he told me that, they were going to redshirt me, I excused myself from dinner and told my mother that I'll be back. And I went out to the court and played ball. And they're sitting there, and then finally after about 30 minutes or 40 minutes, they asked her mother, when was I coming back? And she told them, she said, well, he's not going to be back about 9:30 or 10 o'clock once they cut the lights off at the court. and they realized that that red shirt wasn't something that I was looking for.
Yeah.
And even though I set out a year, it was my choice of sitting out because, after the firing of Coach McDougal at Northern, I knew that, Illinois is where I wanted to be.
Well, I'm telling you what, Kenny, you just lit up the place. There's no flying the Illini without Kenny Battle. You meant so much to this program. I remember once, I worked at the scores table for 20 years, Kenny. I remember once Lou was pumping his fist, and he yelled out at you and said, Kenny, you've got to work harder. And you were chomping your gum, pumping your arms, and you said, okay, coach. That's what you said. And it was just, I loved Kenny Battle, man. It was just the energy you brought and the excitement you brought and just the effort. It was so exciting, but I don't believe we have anything like a Flying Illini without KB. You meant so much to this program, and I know Lou knew it, and I'm so glad that you have such fond memories of Coach.
Well, I mean, Coach, people always would say that, I was Coach's pet and, the players and this here and that, and that, Coach never got on me. And, I was always taught, by my mom that always do your best, give everything you have, enjoy what you're doing. And that's what I took in life. All that my mom had instilled in me as a, a younger kid. And plus I never wanted to fail regarding whatever I was doing. And I always wanted people to say that, he gave his best.
Yeah.
And, and Coach realized that. And, I mean, it would be time we would be running in practice. And, he'll say, hey, Ken, come have a seat. Rod, go get him a Coke. Go get him a Gatorade. And, I'll sit there and be drinking while the team is still running. And, and then that's when he told me one day in practice, he said, you know what, we're going to start an award here for you, Kenny. I've never seen anyone in the history that works as hard as you every single day and never complains about it. And that's when he started the Kenny Battle Award.
Well deserved, and I was so happy about that. I just think that, again, you exemplified what a kid ought to be doing, putting it all out there, not only in practice. Michael Jordan was a great practice player, and so was Kenny Battle. You were awesome here, Kenny, and I appreciate the minutes this morning sharing about Lou Henson. Our thoughts and prayers with Mary and the family, but again, thank you for what you've meant to the University of Illinois.
Thanks a lot, and glad part to be of the Illini family, and, we lost a great one. And but his memory was always live on at the University of Illinois.
Thank you.
Throughout the world.
Thank you, Kenny.
All right. Y'all have a great day.
You say Kenny, I say Battle. Kenny Battle. Kenny Battle. Ugh. Flashback 31 years ago. A lot of you aren't old enough, but he was unbelievable. He was always diving for loose balls in practice, in games. There was nobody that worked that hard. And for Lou Henson, of all the players he'd coached and seen, to name the Kenny Battle Award, it was special.
So we're getting text in to 359-2255. Mike said Kenny Battle, one of my all-time favorites on the Illini list. Adam had mentioned, I remember the very first play Mike White ran at Illinois, a Hail Mary to start the season. And Charles in Fisher said, sporting my orange and blue today with a little more meaning than usual. I met Coach following the Iowa game where Kaufman nailed a 3 at the buzzer to win the game. It was my first Illini basketball game. I was 7 years old. It wasn't the explosion from the crowd or the players that hooked me. It was what he said to me, and briefly talked to him and my grandfather. My grandfather made a joke in passing about how I was lucky to be there since I wasn't keeping up with my spelling homework like I should have been. I proceeded to make some kind of excuse, and Coach cut me off mid-sentence. Then he looked at me sternly in the eyes and said, life isn't about making excuses. It's about making improvements and being better than the day before. That is what hooked me. I tried to remind myself of those words daily. Thank you, Coach. ILL.
I. Doug Altenberger still to come, along with Brad Underwood. I think Brad's going to check in. And Jim Turpin, the voice of the Fighting Illini for so many years. Jim will be up as well. Brother Johnny's in New Orleans. And, Johnny, you met the Hensons. You hung with them a little bit in New Orleans when they came through. You even went to Las Cruces. You gave Coach some rides on the Versabar airplane. Your thoughts this morning?
Well, I'll tell you, just a great guy, great friend. Thank you, Stevie Jay, because you kind of hooked me up. I remember when 1989 we were headed over to the Pete Maravich Center, just named it was just named the Pete Maravich Center in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Flying Illini down here, and you told me, you ought to try to find Mary. She's always at the game. She didn't know me, but she knew you, and so I found her in the stands. She was actually sitting up in the stands by herself, and Bobby and I sat by her, and it's funny, we were probably 3 or 4 minutes into the first half when we got there, and by about 3 or 4 minutes left in the first half, I thought I'd known Mary Henson all my life.
Yeah, no, that's it. No, yeah.
We were old friends, like one of those high school buddies. And she's just like that. And believe it or not, Lou's same thing. And just had a lot of great times with Lou and Mary. And so, one time we were playing golf, Steve, you like that. And he had one right behind a tree. I was thinking, he ought to move that. He's going to get hurt. Well, he kicked it out of the way, and I said, that's a good call, Lou. He goes, John, I hate cheating at golf, but it's better than lying to Mary. so those are the kind of things that made me laugh, and he was pretty humorous, actually.
We were on with him together when they dedicated the court, and in this day of contentiousness and race and all the things, Lou shared this story with us, Johnny.
So they called me, wanted to come down and talk about the job. Well, I knew they had to have black players in school or on the team, so they offered me the job. And I said, now, this is down in Texas, 1962, when they're having all the marches in the South and so on, is little tough on black people. And so the board there, they said, well, Coach, we'd like you to coach here. I said, well, there's one problem I have. You haven't had black players. The only way I would take this job is if you'll integrate the team. Well, in Texas, they started rolling their eyes. It shocked them. They didn't know what to say. Well, Coach, we can't answer that. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Well, they got with the trustees, and believe it or not, they decided to do it. Guess where I went to recruit the first 2 black kids? Mississippi, because Mississippi State and Miss Ole Miss would not take black players.
Wow.
And then I built a relationship there, and that's one of the reasons we wanted New Mexico State.
Remember that, Johnny?
Oh, yeah, no, Stevie, he was instrumental, and I'll tell you, it was a barrier, and Lou, we both will kind of grouse. Now, Lou wouldn't put up with it, but he never got the kind of credit he deserved, and some of it was from kind of breaking in and, kind of messing up the playhouse as the way it was. But look at it today and what he's been able to do, and that was maybe one of his biggest moves, frankly, of everything he did.
Well,
and so, and just the kind of guy Lou Henson was. That's why I'm, when I think of great Americans, that's Lou Henson right there. I remember he called me. We had the Michigan North Carolina championship game, Stevie. When Chris Webber called the timeout.
Yeah, right.
Oops, didn't have any.
Right.
And he said, John, you want some tickets? I'm not going to stay for the game. We're going to leave early. So I called down. He said, I'm leaving at the front desk, and I called down there and said, we don't have any tickets. No, they're ones from Lou Henson. Well, there's none down here. So I drove down there. I said, Lou hadn't left yet. Now, I want those tickets, or I'm just going to go ask him who he gave it to. Well, the guy ran and got me the tickets. But it was a pretty good game. And he had some good seats, I'll tell you that.
I bet he did. Here's something else he shared that I thought was funny on this interview 5 years ago.
John, Steve, I want to tell you this story. You know what the coaches make now and what the coaches made back then. But here about 5 or 6 years ago when Wooden was still healthy enough, they had several of the retired coaches on this call-in show, the radio show, and so this lady called and said, Coach Wooden, I heard something I can't believe. I heard that after 10 national titles, your last salary at UCLA was $36,000. And he said, "Ma'am, I'd like to correct you on that. My last salary was $32,500."
And 32.5. It has changed a little bit, Coach. Right? Based on the market, you'd be worth about $6 million a year right now.
And one thing, I taught 5 math classes. I had 2 study halls. I had duty behind the school. That's where the kids would smoke and drink and do stuff like that. And I coached 2 sports, football. I shouldn't have been coaching, but I had to. You know what I brought home? $271 a month.
270. It comes to $1.56 an hour, Johnny.
Yeah, that's assuming a certain number of hours, and I'm sure he worked more than that. You know, he's one of those guys that got up at 4:30 or 5 in the morning, was always doing something. But I remember another thing, Stevie J. One thing about Lou, he was, like you've been saying, just a good coach. He just knew the game. And one guy who was, you know, maybe at Lou's level as far as knowing the game was Bob Knight. Well, Bob had a hard time beating Lou, and he couldn't stand that. And I remember the time you were telling me you're sitting in the center of the court at the scorer's table, and Bob and Lou are having a battle. And sure enough, Lou beats him again, and Bob he just lost it. He was kind of grouchy the whole game. You were telling me things he was saying at his players, and he said, Steve tells me, Diane, I'll never forget it, John, I'm telling you, he wouldn't even shake hands. Bob Knight's going to blow. This was on a Thursday night game at the Assembly Hall. You got to watch him. They're playing Purdue Saturday. I'm telling you, he's going to pop his top. He's going to snap. And sure enough, that's when he threw that chair across the court. Oh, boy. Because he was losing that game, too. And this is Lou. He couldn't beat Lou. And that's a pretty good legacy right there, because Knight did know basketball. He wasn't as lovable as Lou, but he did know the game.
Well, one more thing before I let you go. We got Doug Altenberger coming up. This is what Coach said regarding that $1.56 an hour pay that he got at Hardin-Simmons.
Well, Johnny, all the success he's had, one of the top business people in the country, and all the money he's made, I want to throw in that salary I started with, because who knows, he might send me a check one of these times.
The great Lou Henson. Well, I know that that once you gave him a few rides in the jet, he had.
Well, I got to tell you that, Steve. He thought a lot of you. And we were talking one time. We were down in Houston having dinner, and I said, I'm going to call Steve. He said, let me talk to him. And so I took a video that I sent you, and we'll find that video. But he tells me, and he's on the video actually talking to Steve, he says, Stevie, you have been a great supporter of me, and I've always appreciated everything you've done. You've backed me all the way, and I like to back you, and you've always been my number one, but not anymore. Yeah. It's your brother now. And he said, I've got to go with the man with the plane.
Right. He said, I've got to go with the plane. Stevie, you're my number. You're not your number 2. I got to go with the plane.
No, it's been fun knowing the Hensons and Mary Henson and Lou. Talk about just an iconic couple. I mean, it was just, and it's great when they were playing UNO. They'd come through, play the University of New Orleans when he was the second time around at New Mexico State, and we were always at the at their after-hour parties, which really they were kind of not parties if they didn't win the game, because Lou didn't. Lou took a few hours to get over losing because he didn't like it. But great group, great for family, great friends, and we'll sure miss Lou Henson, and we'll always love him.
Johnny, thanks for your thoughts. I appreciate it.
All right, Stevie J, thank you.
Talk to you tomorrow with Coach Mike Ditka. Brother Johnny down in New Orleans this morning. We are doing a tribute to Lou Henson the entire show. We've talked to Rob Judson, Lon Kruger, Mark Coombs, the great assistant who gave us a celebration of life, Bruce Weber, Gene Cady, Mike White, Kenny Battle, Brother Johnny, and very happy to welcome Doug Altenberger, Jim Turpin, and Brad Underwood still to come in this half hour. This is ESPN 93.5. My name is Stevie J. I'm so glad you're listening as we honor a great coach and a great man. The things he did for people off the court. He and Mary were always together doing good things that nobody ever heard about. And boy, could he coach. He's the winningest coach in Illinois history. He's the winningest basketball coach in New Mexico State history. And I knew, based on watching him so closely, working at the scorer's table for so many years next to Tony Clements and some other great people, I knew what would happen when somebody didn't guard somebody. One time, Kendall Gill missed something, and he started walking toward the bench before Lou turned to grab somebody, anybody, to get him out. You knew it was absolutely consistent. And if you did it his way, you played. If you didn't, you didn't. There was no ambiguity. One of Lou Henson's great play. I remember, Doug Altenberger, when you were on WMBD as a high school senior announcing you're coming to Illinois. That's how long I've known you. Doug Altenberger.
Oh, Stevie, it's great to hear from you. How you doing these days?
We're doing great, man. We're doing great. And I was at the scorer's table. I got a front row view of your entire college career, and I remember vividly when you said, when Nick Anderson showed up and he wasn't dressing yet, you said, if Nick Anderson were playing, I wouldn't be. He said, and I said, I saw Nick, and I said, he doesn't look that tough. I think Doug's real. I had no idea how good Nick you did, but Doug Altenberger, you meant a ton to the program. I remember one time you came to the bench and you'd ripped, I think, both palms of your hand, and you showed Tony Weisinger, and you were still on the floor, and Tony just cringed and said, "Oh man, your hands!" You played hard, Doug. You played so hard. You played so much with guts and toughness. What are your thoughts of Coach and his passing?
Well, it's a sad day, yesterday, and I will, dearly miss him. And he was my coach, but as I got older, he became much more than that, and became, his daughter and my wife went the same sorority. So we had, how's the family relationships, with kids and Leanne, and so we were, and I used to talk to Mary. And over the years, and give her a call, talk to Coach with Mary, take over as usual. So, but he, as I look back in his life, he came from a small town, Oklahoma, and he used to tell us all the time when we're players that you got to fight for everything, and you got to compete, and you really can't feel sorry for yourself, and you're going to have some winners, and you're going to get losers, and you're going to get kicked in the head a few times, but you got to get back up, and you got to fight. So that's really one of the many things he taught me in life. That he had he had come to Illinois, and I don't think a lot of people knew who he was at the time.
Mm-mm.
At least I didn't know, and took him a long time, and he finally got the program back to where we all loved it. And, we were winning games, getting to the Final Four, competing for a Big Ten championship. So he just taught me to believe in myself and to be tough and work hard. And, the way him and Mary were a great team. So, he was a great role model there too. So he just, he lightened up over the years, but, when we were playing for him in the 80s and early 90s, he was all business. No one was going to outwork Coach Henson.
And I told Mary this about 6 months ago. I said, when you dunked on Illinois, you dunked on Lou Henson. He didn't like that stuff, man. And you were coming out. You were coming out.
Oh yeah. He didn't like anybody being real fancy. Yeah. It was all about the fundamentals, and you had to do things a certain way. And he wasn't one of those guys. As I'm sure everybody talked about this last few days. He wasn't a guy that used profanity or language or whatever, or just sort of went, a couple times. Don't get me wrong, coaching, but you get he's in a huddle in a game and you got to get somebody's attention. He'd yell, but most of the time he's like, "Hey, listen, guys, you're not going to do it my way. You just sit on the bench, and this is we'll get somebody else in there, and until you do it the way I want you to do it, you're going to have to earn your way through it through practice and all that." So he wasn't. He was sort of his style could coach today very easily as it did back then. You can't say that last some of these old timers.
Right,
things were a little different back then.
Doug Altenberger, I remember was it Georgia Tech? You went nuts. It was unbelievable. Was that before the 3-point line? Because they were all 3-pointers. I don't know if you had a line back then, but
that was before the 3-pointer.
Oh, man.
Coach didn't really, when my senior year, I stayed the fifth year because I hurt my knee my senior year. But Coach is like, now, Doug, we're going to let you shoot some threes, but not too many, okay? He wasn't real big on it. He wanted to get the ball inside.
Yeah,
He didn't mind some outside shots, but he didn't want too many. I said, don't worry, Coach. I'll make sure I don't shoot too many.
Well, I remember one time walking down the tunnel, and it was after, I think it was a knockdown drag-out again with Purdue. We'd won. You looked really tired and beat up, and you said, we won this on pure guts tonight. And that's how it worked.
Yeah,
you had to be tougher than the next guy.
Well, and looking back, I even let the Michael Jordan documentary. I didn't really understand how physical basketball was back then.
Mm-hmm.
I would think half the fouls would be flagrant right now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it was the Big Ten was different. You didn't have a shot clock. You didn't have the 3-point line. They put the shot clock in later in my career, and at the very end they put the 3-pointer. But they were trying to speed the game up. They were trying to, get it out of the, some of the games, especially against Purdue, some of the older teams. The games would be, much more. They would take a lot of air out of the ball, and the games would be in the 50s. And they wanted to get the scores up, so that was one of the ideas behind that. But as I've said a few times, the 70s and 80s in Big Ten basketball, we were winning national championships. Indiana, and, Michigan State, and, coaches that were there went on to win. Gary Williams and Lute Olson went on to win national championships at other schools, but they were at Iowa and Ohio State. You had the great teams at Purdue, although they didn't win a national championship, they were always great. So the Big Ten was, it's always been tough, but, the upper echelon teams were winning national championships, and that's really what we were there to do. We weren't there to not even to get to the NCAA tournament. We were like, okay, we want to win, get to the Final Four, win a Big Ten championship, try to do that. We came close, but, that was the goal back then, and, that was what Coach wanted. I mean, he had been very successful at New Mexico State, and he knew how to win, and he was but he knew he had to be patient because we had a long way to go with the program. And but as Neil Stoner said, the 80s belonged to the Illini.
No
it was a great run we had.
No question. We talked to Mike White in the last half hour, and he sounds pretty good out in California as well. But Doug Altenberg, you meant a lot to us. You meant a lot to the program. I always liked you a lot, and we knew each other a little bit back then. And you just
sure. Yeah. No, Stevie, I always looked over on the sidelines. There you were, and sometimes it was, as you know, when you get 18,000 people there in the Big Ten, and it was always a war. And the friendships that I had since back then, like yourself, little did I know they'd be there for a lifetime, and. I'll miss Coach, but like I said, I'm glad he's up in heaven, and I'm sure he's got the diagrams out, and he's executing, drawing out plays, and he's up there with his son, and that gives me great comfort.
Well, he came over. He and Mary came over when we had our triplets. He came over and met them, and he stayed in the driveway with my 4.5-year-old son Nathaniel. And Mary and I came in and with Janet, and we met the babies, and came back out. And this is right after he quote retired from Illinois. And he's running a drill with my 4.5-year-old, and he's going, Nathaniel, you pass it to me, I'll pass it back, you take it and make the shot, let's run it. And I'm going, he's not done. And the play worked, and Nathaniel made the shot. I'm going, he's not done. And then he'd get his.
Hey, listen, Mary had to pull him out. I think he still would have coached for a lot longer. Mary's like, okay, we're tapping out. We're done.
That's right.
That was his passion. He loved basketball 24/7.
And he knew how to do it. He was successful at every single level, every place he coached, and unbelievable stuff. Doug Altenberger, you're now president of the bank. Is that what I understand?
No, not anymore. I'm in the real estate world, and doing a few things down in Champaign, trying to, and up in here. So I shifted gears in life. So I did about that a few years back.
Well, and you're fabulously successful. I'm betting everything on that one, Doug. You're a successful guy, and I love hearing you on with Brian Barnhart when you're filling it on the network. You sound really good on radio.
Well, thanks, Stevie, and thank you, and good to talk to you. I'm glad you're doing great as well, your family.
Talk to you soon, Doug. Thanks for your time.
Okay, all right.
Doug Altenberger, a major player for Lou Henson in the 80s. ESPN 93.5, 844. It's the reason I'm here is Jim Turpin. He hired me in 1984 to do a talk show, and I was a high-flying, top-rated, weightlifting woman magnet wannabe #1 rated disc jockey, and he pulled me out of that and got me into talk. And Jim Turpin joins us. How are you, Jim?
I am great, Steve. Yeah, that was a long time ago when it looked like I made the right move, right?
Well, I tell you what, though, when it started, and this is one of the things that, gave me the loyalty I had to Lou Henson because of his kindness. When I started, and you'd go on Penny, and you'd say, well, we hired a new guy in the afternoon. What do you think of the new kid? And people would call in, and they would excoriate me and just pound me. Jim, you made the bad. What are you doing, Jim? He's awful. He's awful, Jim. And Lou Henson, in his orange jacket, came into the radio station, and he came up to me and said, you are doing a tremendous job. I want to be on your show. And I had no stock, Jim. I was trying to stay hired. And yet he did that for me and gave me some confidence back when he didn't have to. And you hired me. It went from there, and I always appreciate Jim Turpin from what you meant in my life. And I know Lou meant a lot to you too, Jim.
Yeah, Lou and I had a lot of good times together. Thinking back over the last few hours about, what were the good times and what were the bad times, and there were plenty of both. But when you're dealing with a man who is honest and has a great integrity and a very, very funny man, and obviously the love of his family and the way he fought against the cancer. And, of course, he was, some people don't agree with this, but he had a real good eye for and expertise for coaching basketball. Mm-hmm. He was great. I think some of the things that I would remember is all the trips that we took together. You really get to know people when you do that kind of thing. And we went to over to the Baltic states and to Russia, over to Hawaii several times, and Alaska. And the kindness of Lou during those trips when he invited my wife, Louise, to go with us. And she went on a lot of trips that she'd never got to do just with me and my meager salary. But he was really nice to everybody, and I love the man. And I'll miss him a lot.
Well, you guys became fast friends. You joined DWS in 1980, I think, and Coach, of course, came in 75, and it was starting to happen, and you were the play-by-play man that called all these great games. I believe you were down in Rupp Arena when, was it Dickie Beals still traveled, I think is the line I've remembered from that, and the Flying Illini, Final Four. I mean, yeah. It's just the classic that'll live forever in Illini legend and the history of Illinois basketball. That whole run in the 80s, what do you remember about that?
Well, it was just I think, Neil Stoner said the 80s belonged to the Illini, and as far as basketball was concerned, they had what, and the 89 team is, in my opinion, is the greatest basketball team that the University of Illinois has ever had. And I was right in the middle of that, thankfully. That was a great time, and I don't really know much else to say about the run, except that there was never a more exciting time in my life and watching sports and calling sports than that time, that's for sure. And all those guys, as you well know, came back for a reunion not so long ago. And last time they all got together, Lou was there, and were kind enough to invite Lauren and me. We're the trio, Tate, Lou, and Turpin.
Yeah.
Tate was born in, he's the oldest by far. He was born in November of 1931. Lou was born in January of 1932, just a couple of months later, and I was in February of 32, so I was just 1 month behind Lou, but the baby of the trio.
That's right. You guys were close. I know that, and I still feel kind of bad when we were in Pompeii looking at some of the historical stuff. I was live on the radio on DWS, and I said, I see some graffiti. It says Lauren Tate was here. I shouldn't have done that. That wasn't nice. Listen, you guys, I know were quite the team, and it was an amazing era for Illinois basketball, what he did. The winningest basketball coach in 2 programs, Jim. I mean, New Mexico State and Illinois. Wow. And the programs are so down when he took both of them. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's right. He showed his ability to get some players. He got Jimmy Collins that took a whole bus ride from the East Coast down there, and when he was recruited, and he had an ability to, along with some great recruiters, Collins being one of them, Tony Yates being another. But not everything was solemn or anything else. We had a real good time. If you have time for me, I had a couple of quick stories I think people enjoy. We were up at Wisconsin one time at a shoot-around. We were out at some junior college because we couldn't get the main arena, and the team was out practicing, and this was a real big gym, had side baskets. So I went over and started shooting some free throws, and I wound up making, 10 or 11 in a row, just throwing them up there. And Lou blew his whistle, and he called the team together, and he called me out there. And he says, I want you to know that this guy just made 11 free throws in a row, or whatever it was. And he says, he's a crippled old man. He's talking about me now. He said, the crippled old man can make free throws. Why can't you? And he started to practice again. But so there was one final thing. The only time I think he was ever mad at me about my broadcast, but we were up at Minneapolis, and we were getting trumped. I mean, really getting beat. And he started putting other people in the lineup and people that hadn't played and all those kinds of things. And so I so stupidly on the air said, how can we possibly win this game? Not a guy out there can shoot. And so the next day I got a call from Lou, and he says, I want to hear the tape.
Uh-oh.
And I said, tape? I said, Lou, there is no tape. Of course, we taped every game. There was a tape, but I wasn't about to tell him. Yeah. So he hung up, and I never heard from him again about the tape. But I think that was the only time he ever had, the guy came by, the office or the radio station to do pregame shows and stopped off on the way to breakfast, to do the shows, and just around and around. And of course, he was so happy, as we all were, on those great, Kaufman shots.
Yeah.
And Nick's shot down at Indiana, beating what Lou calls a classic bully.
Yep. No, it's just so many moments, Jim, and you've been such a big part of all of that, and everybody loves and appreciates all the work you've done and all the things you've meant to Illinois and Illinois basketball and Lou Henson. But thanks for jumping on. You sound fantastic. You just sound like you're ready to play again, man. You can do this.
Time for football, but I don't know if we're going to get any or not. But,
I hope so. Well, you stay safe, and I appreciate everything. Thanks, Jim. Thanks for being on.
Yeah, pleasure to be on with you. Thank you.
Talk to you soon. Jim Turpin, my mentor and a guy that hired me back in 1984. Mm-hmm. Always will love Jim Turpin and appreciate what he gave me a chance to do.
Me too.
All right, ESPN 93.5. I think that's about it. I think probably not going to get Brad on. Other than that,
his people are saying just too many meetings. They're really sorry they couldn't.
No problem. I think he jumped on with Lon Taylor last night. Yeah, it's all good. We appreciate Brad commenting about Lou and know that there's a lot they're trying to figure out on the University of Illinois campus.
So, and some of the people chiming in, too, we haven't had a chance to go to all the comments, but a lot of people talking about his early morning swims at Bromley Hall or at the Y, and how he was up and at 'em early, and, the bridge and the checkers, and how he loved winning has definitely come up in conversations, too, as we have been sharing on Facebook. And, of course, you can relive these moments at StevieJay.com.
Podcast is there. You can click on the podcast. You'll see Tribute to Lou Henson. I would think that'd be our title. That's what the whole show's been about. And if you ever had Lou winning at Illinois, his book, if you'll notice on the cover, a great joy in my life was that I wound up under his arm because I was at the scorer's table.
Okay, good.
As I was, and I made the cover of the book, and I think I'm on page 39 when I pulled a checkerboard out with him on the radio and said, let's play live on the radio. So, now he has pulled a checkerboard out. All right, we're going to go, and you go here, and I'm going to go there. 2 minutes later, it was over. He was one of the great checker players in the history.
That's right.
He's fantastic. It was 2 minutes. Now, you're going to go there. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to beat you. That was the game. Game over. Listen, he meant a lot in my life because he reached out to a very young broadcaster and was kind. And that pretty much exemplifies him.
Gary O'Brien just said, fantastic show. Lou was a great friend to Tom Parkinson and all of us at the Assembly Hall.
No, he was a great friend to everybody, and that means people around town will tell you their Lou Henson story. Mm-hmm. I mean, the amount of people that would have wanted to pay their respects would have been enormous. It would have been a visitation that would have lasted 6 or 8 hours. They would have come from all over the world to pay respects because Lou Henson not only was one of the top coaches ever in the game of basketball, but he was probably a kinder man off the court. Yeah, he was intense. Yeah, he didn't like losing. Yeah, he was disciplined to his team and his staff. But he was kind, and he was thoughtful, and he was complimentary to you. And he always loved seeing you. He always loved greeting you. And we will miss his presence on this planet. But as a Christian, he is in heaven with Jesus Christ, and he is running around again, and he's probably got a clipboard. He's probably drawn something up. Our prayers to Mary Henson and the entire Henson family. We will miss Lou Henson. I thank you for listening. Diane, thanks for your help.
Go Illini.
ESPN 93.5. I'm Stevie Jay. We'll meet tomorrow on the radio. Jeremy Warner Show is next. Thank you for listening to the Lou Henson Tribute on ESPN 93.5.
Hey, this is Ben from the Humble Hog in Paxton. Since day one, we've worked hard to become one of the best barbecue joints in the state of Illinois. And now we're focused on becoming the safest. We've remodeled and doubled our indoor dining space for social distancing. We've added outdoor dining and created a contact-free dining experience for the safety of you and your family. Order in-house or online takeout at humblehogbbbq.com. We'll take care of you at the Humble Hog in beautiful downtown Paxton.
Wait, Lon, it's not drive time yet.
I can't wait any longer, Derek. These deals are too good to be true.
What kind of deals?
Well, the best prices on new Hondas, used Hondas, pre-owned trucks, BMWs, and so much more.
Wow, big time.
Can you and Trevor handle the show today? I've got to get down to Honda BMW at the corner of Neal and Burwash in Savoy.
Sure. But can't you search for vehicles on their website?
Oh, that's right. What's the address again?
They're online at drivechampaign.com.
Tired of waiting for your current HVAC company to call you back?
Hello. No one is available to take your call. Please leave a message after the tone.
Call ABC Heating and Air at 217-352-5400. You'll talk to a real human being, and they service all makes and models. It's as easy as ABC. ABC Heating and Air, 217-352-5400. That's 352-5400.
When your car breaks down, you realize just how much you need it. And when it breaks down, Beaumont Alignment Plus steps up. For routine maintenance like brakes, oil changes, tune-ups, batteries, and tires, you can count on Beaumont Alignment Plus. Bigger issues including alignment, suspension work, starters, alternators, transmission requires specialists. So get to know Beaumont Alignment Plus for your vehicle repairs. With locations on Bloomington Road and Dennison Drive in Champaign, you're never far from the help you need. It's good to know the quality service is still affordable at Beaumont Alignment Plus.
Crossroads Contractor Supply specializes in the delivery of tools and supplies within a 150-mile radius of Champaign-Urbana. Reliable, timely, and with reasonable prices, Crossroads Contractor Supply knows what equipment and tools are needed for your job. Their slogan, we have it when you need it. Get the job done right with proper tools and equipment. Did something break? Construction materials as well as safety equipment, all available. Call 402-8123. Visit CrossroadsContractorSupplyIL.com.
Norm Miller here, chairman of Interstate Batteries. You know, without batteries, life would be pretty lifeless. That's why Interstate All Battery Centers carry them in every size, shape, and style so you can drive, drill, call, film, or do whatever it is you want to do. Stop in today. They've got the power to keep you going. Interstate All Battery Center. Outrageously dependable.
Interstate All Battery Center. You'll find them outrageously dependable just over Interstate 74 at 2504 North Mattis Avenue in Champaign, with batteries for most every application in stock.
The Long Branch is open. The Long Branch is open. Long Branch Steakhouse in downtown Gifford is now reopened for indoor seating. Stop by and let Donnie cook you up terrific steaks, burgers, pork chops, ribs, and so much more. The wait is finally over because Long Branch Steakhouse is now open for indoor seating. And with their full regular menu available, you simply can't go wrong. Stop by Wednesday through Saturday from 5 to 9 p.m. and let Donnie give you a meal you won't soon forget at 310 South Main Street, downtown Gifford. Game Day Spirit, the official fan store of the Fighting Illini, is now back open for business at the corner of 6th and Green in Campustown. Head down, take advantage of great clearance deals. Short sleeve t-shirts are 1 for $4.99 or 5 for only $20. Other clearance items are marked down up to 50% off. For the best selection of Fighting Illini gear in Campustown, visit the official